Mic check, mic check. What's up, everybody? Get the Insta going too. Thank you, Mail. I know that I'm going live on YouTube. I appreciate the email update. Appreciate that. Let's get live over here on Instagram too. Get a couple more people. Where we at? Here we go. How's everybody feeling, man? Not wanting to cooperate here. Bear with me. Live. Checking connection. Connection is fine. I can assure you of that. Let me shut this door real fast. 1 second, y'all. How we feeling, man? How we feeling? It's a big time victory right there. Big statement. Thought that was going to be the second toughest test for the Cowboys this season going into that game. I wanted to get on here live. Church and family festivities immediately following today went a little bit long, so I didn't have a chance to hop on before the game began. But that's all right. That's all right, man. What I would have had to say before the game wouldn't have mattered anyways. What's up, Hunter? Yeah, toughest test for the Cowboys on the ground, especially this year, prior to or second only to the Bucs. So I was surprised a little bit to see the Cowboys have as much success on the ground as they did. I think we'll see as the year continues to go on. Everybody will become more and more aware of how actually good that Panthers front seven truly is. And they were without a couple defensive pieces today as well. But for the most part, everybody on their front three, down three, and everybody in their linebacking core was healthy for the most part. We saw Shaq Thompson exit for maybe a couple plays or two, along with Hassan Reddick. But yeah, that's a damn good run defense there, and the Cowboys just asserted their will, man. They had their way with them, and it was in a different way again. So just real quick, we've seen Kellen Moore. There's a different game plan each week depending on what the matchup dictates for their opponent for that week. We saw week 1, it was Dak, this is your game, go win it for us, throw it 58 times. Week 2, it was the complete opposite of that. Still a lot of 3 receiver formations, but more just spreading the Chargers out and attacking them on the ground. Much of the same in week 3. And then here we are in week 4. Week 3 was just obviously the dominant victory by all accounts for everybody against the Eagles, right? But this week 4, we see jumbo packages, 13 personnel, 3 tight ends. I saw Jeremy Sprinkle, the number 3 tight end on the depth chart, get mixed in there for quite a few different plays. He blocked well. I saw Connor McGovern, reporting eligible as a receiver, lining up and mauling people in the run game. It was just the Cowboys said, we're going to go hat for hat. We trust our run blocking and our running backs to make plays for us. And again, they just dominated the line of scrimmage for the second week in a row now. Didn't expect that, actually. So had I gone live before the game, we talked about a second ago, I wanted to. I had planned on doing so. Didn't get the chance to do it, but I was going to tell people that this was going to be another Dak, do it on your own game, getting everything moving through the air. But it didn't need to be. Our offensive line had other plans today. Trevon Diggs, superstar. We can go ahead and say that now. What do we got now? 5 interceptions in 4 games. Can't tell you the last time I've seen a Cowboys defensive player do that. I think Zeke finished with 20 carries for the day. Tony Pollard, I'm not exactly sure. Um, the biggest thing though, so that was a big win. I think the league is on notice now, but more than that, which is what we're going to talk about a little bit today. That's what I'm going to focus on. The schedule, the upcoming. I thought if the Cowboys could come out of that game with a victory, given that the Panthers were on a extended, a mini bye with the 10 days between their last matchup with the Texans on Thursday. Knowing how talented they were in stopping the run with their defensively, I thought that was going to be a tough test. Zeke acknowledged as such on his radio show before the game. He said that he wouldn't be surprised if it took the Cowboys a little bit of time to get going, maybe seeing some stagnance as they try to figure out how exactly the Panthers were going to attack them and line up and try to contain the offensive attack. But it was kind of a rough and tumble first half. But again, maybe Zeke was right. Once they got a chance to regroup in the locker room for however many minutes, 4 to 6 minutes, with their offensive coaches, we saw a little bit of an adjustment, and that was when they came out in the second half. And they're like, "Look, we can beat these guys on the ground. We can maul them." And we saw heavy personnel packages, and Tony and Zeke, man, doing their thing. So I like the adjustment, and I like the confidence. I love the play calling, that play at the very end there when the Cowboys needed to get the first down to essentially ice the game to go. I don't even know what you call that formation, but they had 2 running backs in the backfield, and they just went that little option play with Zeke and Tony. Just the creativity there, but also the balls, the confidence that you have to call that play, to trust Zeke there in that situation to make an accurate read and deliver an accurate pitch. It just shows you, man, things are clicking on all cylinders right now for this team. So it's just special. It's special to watch right now. Try not to get ahead of ourselves and just enjoy every second, Looking ahead, though, so the Eagles got stomped again today, as expected. Let's just look at their next 3 games. So, again, this Panthers team is tough. They're going to give a lot of people a lot of problems defensively. And so that's going to be a fun matchup to watch to see how the Eagles handle it next week. But don't be shocked if we see the Panthers still, kind of in the mix. Their schedule is very favorable. But for the Eagles specifically, we got the Panthers in week 5, and then they go home against the Bucks, on the road against the Raiders, who look like world beaters right now. And then they get, maybe a cupcake matchup with the Lions finally, but then they got to play the Chargers again. So, the Eagles right now are sitting, 1-3. I think it's safe to say that Panthers game could be a toss-up maybe. We'll see how they bounce back after getting essentially thrashed today by the Cowboys. But then I'm chalking up 2 L's for the Eagles. Home against Tampa and on the road against Vegas. So that was a big win for the Cowboys today for that reason. And then looking over to the Giants side of things, I'm telling y'all, man, this schedule situation right now, this is an important stretch. The Cowboys can really separate themselves if they continue to stay hot. The Giants, so, they had a big win for themselves today against the Saints. So I think they're sitting at 2-2, if I'm not mistaken. Or no, sorry, they're 1-3 as well. Okay, so the Giants, they gotta come and play the big boys first next week. And then they go Rams, Panthers, Chiefs, Raiders. They might lose 5 in a row. That's 5 L's right there, if you ask me. Just on paper, the matchup as it sits today. At Cowboys, home against the Rams, home against the Panthers, at Chiefs, home against the Raiders. And then they play the Bucks. Might be 6 losses in a row right there. So they enter a gauntlet. And then now looking ahead to, let's get Washington pulled up. I had this pulled up earlier. I don't know why my computer deleted it from the archives. I guess because I exited out of Google Chrome. So Washington, they sit what? 1-3? Are they 1-3 as well? No, they have 2 wins, right? Yeah, they beat the Giants. Okay, they're 2-2. Should know this off the top of my head. Trying to process a lot of information here, y'all. So they got to play the Saints, who don't look like they're clicking right now. That's a winnable game for them. But then they play the Chiefs, Packers, Broncos, and Bucks. And then they get the Panthers, who again I think they're a playoff team potentially with their schedule and what we've seen their defense to do. They stay healthy on that side of the ball, get CJ Henderson going, keep Shaq Thompson upright, keep Jeremy Chin upright. That's going to be that's a forceful team right there, man. But these next like 6 games for even Washington, Saints, 50-50, and then Chiefs, Packers, Broncos, Bucks, Panthers, Seahawks, Raiders, and then they got to play the Cowboys again. So, that's what happens. That's the downside of winning your division. You play that tougher schedule the following season. You play every division winner from the year prior. And so we already saw the Bills handle them. We saw that game today. Obviously, it could have gone either way. I think the Falcons are a terrible team, and Washington, they narrowly escaped that game. But you can say what you will. I like the way Taylor Heineke competes. I like the skill position players they have offensively. They got Curtis Samuel back healthy today. Looked like he was kind of on a snap count. But to have to play the Chiefs, the Packers on the road at Mile High against the Broncos, and then last year's Super Bowl champs, the Bucks. So that's 2 teams that were in the Super Bowl a year ago. The Packers, who were a couple plays away, right, in the NFC Championship game, and the Broncos, who are undefeated. Granted, they've beaten 3 teams who are winless right now, but that's one of the better defenses in football, in my opinion, as they just give up a deep touchdown to Hollywood Brown. Nice to see you catch one there, buddy. Good bounce back. Good for you. So things looking well right now. Looking up for the Cowboys, man. It's a win like that tells me that they're for real. I think it's safe to say that at this point, given what we've seen, man. Trevon Diggs, again, you have, I think we can all agree, a superstar at the most premier position outside of defensive end on that side of the football. And then you've got another, what we think to be an all-pro, if you want to call him, up there on the front 4, just causing havoc. This guy, y'all, he didn't play football last year. He's been a defensive end for all of 3 weeks in his life. He's winning and consistently getting to the quarterback with like maybe this much of an array of pass rush technique and different moves. He said, I think somebody said it maybe on the radio, or maybe it was a Cowboys player talking on like a little media availability, whatever, saying that this dude has 3 moves in his arsenal and he's still winning just with the elite combination of power, speed, and just raw strength that he possesses, man. It's to move the way that he moves just shouldn't be possible, man. But 2 special players on the side of that ball for the Cowboys. Dan Quinn obviously making an incredible difference. Whatever he's making right now, I said this on Twitter, it's not enough. I don't think you can really to lead the league in turnovers after being the worst defense in every category in franchise history a year ago. You lead the league in turnovers and essentially look like world beaters right now. I don't care if it's been 4 weeks. There's been 2 legitimate tests thus far, and then another one against the Chargers, who that's a team that can go out and play with anybody on any given Sunday. Already saw them beat the Chiefs, right? And then the Eagles, who are a division rival, but nonetheless, you go out and you beat them and control the game from the start of the game until the very end for 60 straight minutes. I didn't sweat. Not one time was I nervous in that game. And just so that just tells me, man, things are different. So the depth at the defensive line position is cool to see. Randy Gregory looks incredible. If you watch him, his first step is lightning quick. It's rare that you get kind of like infatuated by keying in on a defensive player and not watching the ball. A lot of times it's easy as fans on the TV. The camera will follow the football. But to me, I like to try and watch matchups and see what guys that I'm interested in, see what they do, how they look, the effort they're bringing, and just ultimately the skill. But Randy Gregory looks great, man. This team was getting after the Sam Darnold basically from halfway through the second quarter all the way to the end of the football game, and they're not even at full strength yet. Like we don't have what before the season began was the number one guy on the depth chart at the interior defensive line position, the defensive tackle, right? Neville Gallimore, who's only in his second year, third round pick out of Oklahoma. He's going to make a difference for you when he gets healthy. And then obviously, your leader, your all pro your Pro Bowl defensive end, Randy Gregory, or sorry, DeMarcus Lawrence. He's been out too. And you wouldn't know that though. That's the crazy thing. It's like with all these different missing pieces, they're still just creating havoc, man. So I can't wait to see what Dan Quinn can do, dialing up pressure with different fronts and different looks and stunts with a full, healthy array of pass rushers, man, and run stoppers. So just super excited right now. Let me get to some of these comments, y'all. I'm sorry if I missed them. What do you think is going on with Diggs? Taji asks. So obviously he had the towel over his head and didn't seem to be concerned. Even had the sideline reporter right there. Obviously, Taji and I watched the game together today, so I appreciate him chiming in and asking questions. He and I both talked about the situation. They reported that there was nothing bothering him or keeping him from being back on the field, but clearly there was, especially after, I get it. You make things a little bit easier. You go soft coverage. You're just trying to eliminate all the risk of any big plays. And so you're keeping everything in front. It makes things easier when you're only rushing 3 and 4. So they methodically kind of march down the field, get in the end zone. Then once that happens and they get the ball back again, right down, I think it was 8 at that point after they had scored. Diggs is still over there on the sideline. That's when there's clearly something bothering him. But for him to be in good spirits and all smiles, never went to the medical tent, never showed any sort of sign of frustration. I think it's safe to say that maybe he just felt something that was sore and wanted to just play it safe and hopefully just get through the end of that game. I don't think that was any coaching decision trying to be cute and outsmarting or just getting lackadaisical or complacent with the lead that you had. I don't think that's the situation here. I think the coaching staff is smarter than that. So just hope that he's all right, but I think he's going to be fine. Let's see. Couldn't tune in for the pregame, but I'm here now. The atmosphere at the game was crazy. Felt like we actually had a home field advantage for the first time in a while. Okay, so Zach, you were at the Cowboys game today? Heard on the radio that at halftime he was dealing with a tweaked back. Okay. So Zach, if you're still in here, can you clarify and let me know if you're talking about Trey Diggs? I'm assuming that's who you're referring to. I didn't hear that mentioned about his back, but if it's just like a bruise or, just soreness, he'll be all right. What am I missing here? Okay, yeah, so that's cool. Okay. So Zach said he was at the game. The atmosphere was crazy. I like hearing that, man. A lot of times, the Cowboys, it is what it is, right? They're the biggest sports brand in the world, okay? A lot of times what happens, you go to those games, you get a lot of, it's corporate media and corporate America occupying a lot of the lower bowl of AT&T Stadium. So at times, right, it's I've been to games before where I've questioned the same thing. I've thought that, it felt kind of dead in there. So I've always wondered if that's the reason why. I don't know for sure if that's the case, but that'd be my guess. But to hear, like, you got, sounds like what Zach is saying, the fans, man, just being fully engaged, fully bought in. I saw towels waving every time they panned to the stadium. I saw just people going crazy, and I love just seeing that. It's awesome to have a season thus far, 3-1, and you're in every game that you're playing, and the games that you should win, you're dominating. It's just cool to see the Cowboys finally be able to put some stuff together on both sides of the ball. So I'm excited, man. I think it's heading in the right direction. Still lots of things to improve upon. I would say health would be the biggest things that'll help this team as we move forward. Um, but looking ahead to, let's go ahead and just maybe look ahead at the Cowboys schedule as well. We talked about all the other three in the NFC East, but we got the Giants coming up first. I know that, and we play the Patriots, I believe, right after. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, got the Giants at home. Go to Foxborough on the road. New England play the Patriots. That's a game that we should win, no problem. And then at Minnesota, that game worries me. The Vikings are a better team than they get credit for, and Kirk Cousins is playing really good football. And then you got Broncos. So the next 3 games, I would say, Giants, Patriots, Vikings. The Cowboys in the first 2 of those 3 should be significant favorites to win. I'd say the line on that Giants game is probably going to be like in the 8.5 to 10 ballpark in the Cowboys' favor. And then on the road in Foxborough, you give them 3 points for being at home. So I'd say it's probably going to be Cowboys like maybe -6.5, something like that, at New England. And that's a team that's going to be improving too as the season goes. Mac Jones is mental trait quarterback, right? Trying to process football with his eyes and with his mind. It's a little bit different, a little bit more difficult to do as you break into the league, right? Trying to process stuff. The speed of the game is the biggest difference from college to the pros. So it'll be a learning curve for Mac, but I think he's talented. I think he'll be a mainstay at the quarterback position, at least for the Patriots for a few years. I don't think he's going to be, some crazy high ceiling dude or even remotely mimic Tom Brady, but I think he'll be serviceable for a while. Yeah. So then after that, it's home against the Falcons. Should absolutely obliterate them, and then it's on the road November 21st. Man, I've had that bookmarked for lots of many weeks now. Plans to head up to Kansas City. Chiefs game. Got a bunch of friends and family. Well, basically friends that have become family in the Kansas City area. So I'm pumped to go up there and hopefully watch a heavyweight shootout between those two high octane offenses, man. I think the Cowboys on paper are a better football team though. So should win that game too. But, in the afternoon at 3:25 at Arrowhead Stadium, that's an environment that's pretty formidable opponent there, obviously, with or without, but you play the Chiefs at home. They're a tough team to beat. They are a tough team to beat. I'm used to there being a ton of other teams, fans, but this year there's a ton of, let me see this here, diehard boys fans stepping up and being loud when they need to. Yeah, man, that's cool. I'm glad to hear that, and I appreciate you. Posting that, man. Thank you. That's cool. That's a good sign. I like that. It's for a while there, right? AT&T Stadium was a spectacle, and everybody wanted to come see it. Everybody, you're right. The games that I went to a home game against the Steelers. I think back in like 2012 or something. I was still in high school, but it felt like it was 60-40. It really did. And I know it's like that in a lot of cases. Like when you get teams that are, having a lot of success, they come on the road and play us at home. It's loud for both teams for sure. But that's cool to hear that it's seemed to be a little bit different today. I think the fans can sense it that on both sides of the football, we are giving teams a lot of problems right now. And then that doesn't even go into Kellen Moore. We haven't even talked about Kellen Moore, really. That dude. Can we credit Mike McCarthy at least a little bit? Like, I know it's easy to hate on him sometimes, and a lot of us are guilty of it, myself included. I think he's a great coach, but I do give him trouble, give him crap for the clock management stuff. I even mentioned that today on Twitter. I said, okay, clock management time. Everybody pay close attention. Let's see how we handle with 3 timeouts here, but I think he deserves a little bit of credit. Obviously, Jerry had some influence with keeping Kellen Moore around. But to see Mike McCarthy, he says a lot of the right things, and he kind of stays out of the way of the 2 coordinators. So to me, if you ask me, there are 3 head coaches of this football team, and it's obviously Mike McCarthy, it's uh, Dan Quinn, and it's Kellen Moore. But I think you ask anybody on that team, anybody in the media that cares enough to study and know about it. I think a lot of people will tell you right now this team is not peaking right now. There's a lot of things they feel like they don't have really down pat as a unit collectively in all three phases. I think we still. I'm trying to even sit here and reflect and pick out a flaw or something that I think needs a lot of work or a lot of that we have to pay attention to before we start to talk about this team making a playoff run. Uh, I'll have to I'll have to do some digging. I'll watch the game on replay again. I usually do that anyway, but it's tough to find flaws right now with this football team. They're playing complete football, and to be able to kind of bottle up again, bottling up opposing teams' rushing attack and not letting them like we're the ones who are more or less just abusing teams on the line of scrimmage, and that was not the case by any stretch last year. And even I still call the interior defensive line unit of this team, the defensive tackle position, the worst position on the roster for us. But it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't matter. They're just playing so fast and they have so much depth. Like you talk about Oso Digizua, he was all over the place tonight. Randy Gregory, he was all over the place tonight. Micah Parsons, same thing. Chauncey Golston, I saw. I talked about him last week. I was kind of watching to see how he would fare in his first action. Really, that dude's still not even in shape yet. He didn't have any training camp or any preseason. He's going to be a problem too. Number 59. Keep an eye on him. Again, that's big. I'm rooting for him a little bit more than I otherwise would because that was the pick that the Cowboys got from the Eagles to move back 2 spots so they could come up and take Devontae Smith right before the Giants in last year's draft. But Chauncey Golston looked good. So that's 4 guys right there who can absolutely get after the quarterback. And that doesn't even talk about today. We still didn't have Keanu Neal. He wasn't active. Our starting safety, Donovan Wilson, is still inactive. But that safety group looks good too, man. I saw Malik Hooker flying around. He made a great read. He saved probably an extra 20 yards. Chuba Hubbard tried to bounce one outside, and he came from the opposite side of the field and met him just past the line of scrimmage and drove him backwards. Love seeing that form tackle there from Malik Hooker. That dude is looking better and better every single week. Again, trusting the Achilles, trusting playing fast, right? Getting familiar with the system. And just believing that he's 100% and playing, football, just going out there and playing football. John Franks on the YouTube over here, he says Jones will Jones this up. What do you mean, man? What do you think? What can Jerry do right now to mess this up? Yeah, I understand. I'm 27, so I haven't technically been alive for a Cowboys Super Bowl. A lot of you who are around for the dynasty of the 90s, right? I wasn't around for that, and that's okay. But that's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about it now. I hear all the stories about the past and how much fun it was. So I understand there's more frustration for those who have been old enough to understand and be in their adult life throughout this 26 some odd year drought now since Super Bowl appearances. But I think okay, so I know Jerry obviously still has a ton of influence, right? He has the final say in everything. But I don't think as far as the roster construction, the decision making within the locker room and within even in the war room on draft day, I don't think there's nearly as much influence as the public makes it out to be. I know Stephen Jones, the COO, chief operating officer, technically, he's the one that's working in tandem in conjunction with Will McClay, evaluating talent and making those decisions, those 50-50 split decisions in the war room whenever things kind of get crazy. So credit to that staff for trusting Micah Parsons, for sticking to their guns, and There was a time right before the draft, Jerry Jones was on national television, one of his interviews, and he said, uh, the guys that sat out the COVID year lose, that's a negative for us. We don't necessarily like the fact that a guy that we might be potentially evaluating and selecting in the first round of the draft would have missed that draft eligible season. But their scouting department obviously saw something they liked in Micah Parsons and Dan Quinn. He checked down on it and gave him the final okay, and turns out to be maybe a franchise altering move thus far. Just the impact that Micah Parsons is having. So I'm not trying to overstate that, but Jerry Jones, if he would have had it his way, we would have went through God knows how much turmoil there with Johnny Football in 2014. We ended up with an all-pro mainstay, all-pro right guard and Zach Martin instead. That was thanks in large part to Stephen Jones. And also the same thing too. If things would have went Jerry's way in the 2016 draft, that was Dak's year, I believe. They were trying to trade up and get Paxton Lynch out of Memphis at the bottom of the first round. Jerry Jones, there's a quote. You can go watch it. You can find it on YouTube. It says, "That's our guy. We got to go get him." And he was referencing Paxton Lynch and Jason Garrett. He's kind of sitting there like, not necessarily agreeing, but definitely in deep thought. You could see that. But let me double check. I don't want to misspeak here. I'm pretty sure that was the 2016 draft, the same year that we ended up with Dak in the 4th. It's a comp pick, by the way. Let me see. Paxton Lynch draft year. Anybody out there know off top? Not a ton of people in here right now, so that's okay. Paxton Lynch draft. Yeah, 2016. Okay, that's what I thought. So just imagine that. Somebody thank Stephen Jones for saying no, for dropping the hammer on his dad there in the war room and saying, "Nah, Paxton Lynch ain't our guy." So again, I'd have to go back. I think maybe somebody took them right before they even got a chance to really sit down and talk about trading up. But I know for a fact Jerry Jones wanted to trade up and get Paxton Lynch there. That was his guy. So ended up with Dak 3.5 rounds later, and the rest is history. So one thing here, let me get to it because I took notes of this. I thought this was very important to understand or to listen to and to process as a fan. Mike McCarthy said something I love, and he said, the Cowboys are just proactive adjustment. They use the proactive adjustment philosophy. And he's referencing there, he's referencing Dak Prescott and their ability to be proactive in adjusting their offensive philosophy based on what the matchup dictates from their opponent that week. And you can't do that if you don't have a quarterback that has full understanding, full knowledge of the game as it's happening. And as they, get everything lined up at the line of scrimmage, he sees what the defense is presenting and can check out. So he has full autonomy at the line of scrimmage, but understand how important Dak really is to this team, how good of a football player he is now mentally and physically. That's the biggest jump that I've seen this year. I think most of you guys that are watching, you can see the same. At the line of scrimmage, he is in full control, and he's getting guys lined up. They're running. There's all kinds of different checks. There are formation shifts pre-snap. There are all, you name it, everything, man. He's getting everybody lined up. He's calling out their protection based on what, maybe the blitz would indicate. It's special. And that is the part of the game that is the toughest for a quarterback to really master, and what allows you to keep getting better. It's a timeless position. If you can establish yourself and then just, you have the time, right? You have the pedigree, the resume. you've established yourself as a mainstay at the position, and now it's just learning, right? Mental, you know, the nuances of the game and of the position that defensive coordinators try to throw at you to make it difficult, and they don't let you to use your physical ability, however good you are as a thrower of the football. But Dak doesn't. It never really gets to that point because we have such a good run game. The offensive line is so physical up front and winning. I saw Terrence Steele today, guys, move his man on that long run from Zeke in the second half, the 50 some odd yarder. Terrence Steele moved his man. I forget who it was. It might have been Hassan Reddick. 7 yards off the line of scrimmage. Like it was like a pin pull blocking scheme right there, I think. So he and Zach Martin crashed on that 3 technique defensive tackle. And so he had a little bit of help, but Zach let go to go find work elsewhere. And Terrence just, eliminated him from the play completely. And Zeke sprung free. And, we saw what happened after that. Zeke did his thing, but just goes to show you how important they are. The Cowboys are playing with a lot more pace this year. So that's why we're seeing more of Tony Pollard. It's not that they don't like Zeke being out on the field. I mean, if this was an offense, a Jason Garrett led offense from, last year, a couple years ago, 2 years ago, Zeke would still be on the field 98% of the time, just because there was a lot slower pace of play and a lot more of a, oh my goodness, the Steelers just, was that Minkah Fitzpatrick again? Okay, there's a flag on the play. Somebody must have lined up off sides, but that's a momentum changing play right there if that stands. I don't even remember what I was talking about. I apologize for that, guys. But okay, so John Franks, he says, I go back to when he left Austin because he wouldn't allow him to raise hotel taxes. Yeah, Dallas hasn't been right since then. Also, he will sell anything he builds. It's a trap. Yeah. I can't really dispute that, John. I hope that, as true as that may be, I hope that it doesn't ultimately matter because of everything else seemingly being in place right now for the Cowboys. So I hope that's not true, man. But you might be right. If you don't mind me asking, how old are you? I'd like to know that. I'm 27. So again, I defer a lot to people that I talk to on a frequent basis. I defer to just them and their knowledge of how things really, really work, because I can do all the research I want. I can, pay as close of attention as I possibly can, but I don't ultimately know all the answers. Like, look, I've got this book. It's basically like a Cowboys almanac, 50 years of football. It talks about everything. It's really cool. So I flip through this from time to time, but I'll never learn and understand everything and how it goes. So I admit there are things that I don't understand and don't know about the organization that maybe contribute to keeping them from reaching their full, their full ceiling. But I'm an optimist by nature, so I always see the good in things, and I always hope for the best. So that's what I'm doing right now. But it's tough to argue with, just if we eliminate everything else, man, just what we're seeing on the field, it's different. Things are different. I think we all agree. We all can see that. So that's what I'm focused on right now. The play, the personnel, the dudes out there on the field doing the work. That's what I'm focused on. So Russell Wilson launching one to DK Metcalf. Ooh, nice play. Nice play. Let me get back on. Let's try Facebook Live, see if we can generate a little bit more traffic here. This is a safe place, people. We're just hanging out, man. How do you go live on Instagram? Or on Facebook. I don't even know. A lot more active people than Insta. Let's see what we got. Let's give a few more minutes for people to start piling in. So if I see 2 people still active here on YouTube, what do you guys, any questions, comments, concerns with today's game? I'm obviously one of the happiest dudes on earth right now. After that performance, how could you not be, right? Am I live right now? Okay, I think I'm live. I don't know how to operate Facebook, so I apologize for that. But so I'm 40 minutes into my post game reaction here on YouTube. If you guys want to see the beginning of that, sorry I'm late. Tuning in or getting caught up here on Facebook. I went live on Instagram and YouTube at first. That cut off, so now we're on Facebook. But if y'all want to catch the first 40 minutes of this, just head over to my YouTube channel, The Lando Show. You can check it out. Just going over. I went over the schedule. Obviously, instant reaction from today's game, talking about the things I liked. Let me know if there's anything out there that I'm forgetting that you didn't like, that you would like to see improvement on, because this is obviously a great sign as far as just the total play. But I know there's always things to improve on. And again, like I said a minute ago, I mentioned on YouTube, the personnel, the coaching staff included on this team will tell you that this team isn't, they haven't reached their full stride yet. They're not clicking on all cylinders yet. There's still improvement to be had. So as fans, it's totally natural, even after a game like that, to be nitpicky and critique, figure out holes on the team, whether that be offense, defense, or special teams. And there's always room for improvement, always. So Jordan Cansey says Bijan for Heisman. Yeah, man, that dude. I was there yesterday. I was live for it. So he's got to be in the conversation now, especially Cotton Bowl coming up this weekend. I'll be in attendance for that one too. But if he has another performance like that, which I don't think that Steve Sarkisian and company necessarily want him touching the football 35 times a game. But if that's what it takes to win, then that's just, you got to do what you got to do. But you can chime in on this here, Jordan, if you want. I don't think, like, if all else being equal, and we'll get back to the Cowboys after this, but all else being equal, if Bijan Robinson just doesn't exist, I don't know if Texas wins that game. And again, that comes from, while me also acknowledging, I love Roshan Johnson. I love Keelan Robinson, who needs to touch the football more, by the way. And I love, true freshman Jonathan Brooks, who even, maybe looks even more so the part than Bijan does. That he's a specimen. But yeah, I don't know if Texas wins that game if Bijan doesn't exist. So John Franks. So we're talking about Jerry. He mentioned on the YouTube channel, he said Jones will Jones this up in response to just killing the momentum, basically, is what he's getting at. And he says he's 57 years old. So I was asking about how old he was, just because I like to defer to people who have been around a lot longer than I have and have seen the Cowboys through the glory days and the dark days, right, in their adulthood, since they can really process what's happening. And so I admit, there's a lot of things that I don't know about the franchise and about how things are run. But I was just kind of commenting on how I thought that a lot of Jerry Jones's influence now, especially when it comes to the roster building side, in the locker room, and even things that happen in the war room on draft day, I think a lot of his influence is a little bit overstated. But I know there are a lot of things that people dislike or disagree with that he does. The full autonomy, obviously. I don't think ever in any situation that if you're the judge and the jury, it's, he's the owner and the general manager, right? I don't know if that's the best way to go about winning, or, building a dynamic franchise again, rebuilding the dynasty that was the 1990s Dallas Cowboys. But, I'm trying to focus on what's happening on the field. And I think we can all agree, everybody in here right now, we can all agree that what we're seeing on television from the players, the guys out there doing the work, the dirty work, between the end zones and the sidelines for 60 minutes, it's different. It's different. And it's nice to see the Cowboys really just kind of be a force on both sides of the football for once. I don't know if I can say that in my lifetime. This pass rush is special, and a pass rush that's still without multiple key players at both levels, the front and the linebacker. So appreciate you guys who are in here, man. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to keep doing a lot more of these I'm getting some decent feedback. So if you haven't subscribed, I would encourage you to head over to my channel we've got a lot of fun stuff prepped. I was with Fanatic Perspective and Texas Homer, two amazing UT content creators yesterday at the game, at the TCU game, and they're both really excited for obviously OU week. It's the Cotton Bowl, so they've got some cool content planned. I think we've got we're going to get on and do maybe a roundtable, talk about the matchup. I've got a buddy, one of my good friends. He might be seeing this at some point, Alex Copeland, who honestly knows OU football more than maybe anybody should. But I always defer to him if there's anything I want to know about college football as a whole or anything regarding the Sooners, obviously. So we'll have a breakdown for you guys, hopefully. And then there's just going to be a lot of cool content coming up. And then Steven and I, he's also a Cowboys fan too. So we love chopping it up. We went live earlier this week together for a while, and that was a lot of fun. So I'm just enjoying this, man. So if you guys want to hop in anytime, you're more than welcome. Obviously, the Lando Show, hit subscribe on YouTube. It's totally free. I really appreciate that. This is fun for me. This is it's therapeutic, and it's also exciting, especially when the Cowboys are 3-1 right now. It's easy to have fun. So that's what we'll try to keep doing. Questions, comments, concerns though about the game today? While I wait for some of those, we got John Franks. I meant to finish his comment. He said he had the Dallas/Austin Cowboys in the palm of his hands. His greed caused him to bully Gus Garcia, and Garcia couldn't deliver, so Jones punished Austin. Interesting. I think that's actually, I don't know anything about that, John. So that's fascinating to hear. I'll have to look into that and see. But for both of our sake, for our health, right? I hope that Jerry isn't an issue moving forward. So we'll just have to wait and see, man. Says my mother is watching. Hello, mother. How art thou? We're going on 48 minutes right now, so probably going to wrap this up. Just wanted to hop on and express my thoughts. I thought it was weird. Amari Cooper looked like he pulled his hamstring very early on in the game, right? He came up gimping and holding the back of his leg on that route there on the sideline in the first quarter. I've never seen somebody think they tweaked a hamstring and then come back and just start routing people up and catching 40-yard touchdown passes. And I'm not sure how that's possible. So I don't know what he felt, but glad that he was okay. I just was really confused there for a while about what was going on there with Mr. Coop. But I think the Cowboys put the league on notice today. That was a tough test. The league's best defense versus the league's best offense. Still early, obviously. But to do that to that Panthers front, that tells me that we're in for a treat this year, especially our schedule looking forward doesn't, it's pretty favorable. Very, very favorable schedule. Lots of winnable games. So 3-1 right now. Again, Giants at home next week, should definitely win that game. Patriots on the road the week after, should definitely win that game. We'll be at least a touchdown favorite in both of those. And then on the road at the Vikings, that's a tough one. That's a toss-up. And then the same thing at home against the Broncos. Every game in the NFL is tough, right? It's it's just the nature of the beast. But things are looking good right now. Looking good. So we got one person in here, almost 50 minutes now. We'll go ahead and cut this, but appreciate you guys tuning in today, for hanging out with me for a little bit. Glad to see the Cowboys get that win, and we'll look forward to the Giants. October 10th. Here we come. I'll see y'all then.